Good afternoon, everyone. Hello. Welcome to Rigging Cheat Codes. That's we're here. Look at that fancy slide there. I am Wayne Dixon. I am an educator. I am an animator, and I am a rigger. And I'm quite passionate about education, animation, and rigging, which is why I'm very happy to work at CG Cookie as their animation and rigging instructor. Does anyone know me from CG Cookie? Oh, cool. Actually, I feel pretty good now. I don't just work at CG Cookie. I run my own. I run Moonstring Animation, which is just me. I do freelance work. I have done some cool things. A lot of talking nut commercials. Yes, you heard that correctly. Talking nuts. Pistachios are my specialty. And I have done a couple of almonds. So yeah, but pistachios, sorry if you've got an allergy, but this is not the talk for you. I also have worked for Fuzz Animation since the start. They've done a lot of the kids animation on YouTube, and the stuff that I've done has had billions of views, which is, I don't like to brag, but they force me to do it because I don't do it enough. So today, actually, I'm going to show you some of my work, because some of you don't know me, some of you do. If you take one of my courses at CG Cookie, you'll realise that once you're in my world, I'm there to kind of help you, because I'm quite passionate about education, animation, and rigging. But I'm also not very serious at all. So here is something, it'll make sense here.
Here is a ball. It is seen by most in its final form, the beauty render. However, these captivating spheres are more commonly found in its native habitat, the 3D viewport. Sadly, the numbers of these radiant orbs are dwindling worldwide. Few realize that these balls cannot move by themselves. They rely on specialized organisms known as an animator to bring them to life. But even animators depend on another crucial group, the rigger. They craft the intricate skeletons and interfaces that make the animation possible. Without these riggers, the balls would remain static and lifeless. Fortunately, the organization known as CG Cookie is dedicated to reversing this decline. They are nurturing a new generation of riggers, ensuring that the world would not be devoid of these animated wonders. With tools for geo-swapping, squash and stretch controls, their training empowers otherwise useless animators to breathe life into these spherical marvels. Without the brilliance of these rigging experts, the world of animation would be a dull and lifeless place. Join CG Cookie and help keep the magic of animation alive.
Yeah. It's so good that we had the budget to get David Attenborough to do the voiceover for that. No, it was me, I don't know. But people get disappointed when they then do the course and they realise I don't talk like that the whole way through. So yeah, that's the kind of stuff that I do, and I'm quite, that's a bit of a joke, but it's actually, it's serious. Like I'm trying to educate people on rigging, and that's what we're talking about today, right? Everyone starts somewhere. So today it's aimed at beginners and intermediate riggers, or anyone who's kind of interested in that. Doing your own projects, and you need to make something move, and a rig would be beneficial. I can only talk about some of the things that I think are important to know. I tried to fit 7 hours of content down into this 50 minutes. We'll just see how we go. I'm also going to highlight some of the not stupid common sticking points, because often we get students who go, I don't understand this, I'm stupid, I don't understand this. And it really, I dislike that, because you're not stupid because you do not know something yet. It takes exactly as long as it needs to for you to understand it. Exactly as long as it needs to. So don't give up and keep doing it, do you know what I mean? And I'm here to help you if you do one of my courses. There's also going to be a lot of tips and tricks, so you're going to learn some things that you didn't know. You go, oh, that's a good idea. So even if you are an advanced rigger, you're like, oh, cool, that's a shortcut that I didn't know. There's also going to be tips and tricks. That is not a typo. There's going to be a lot of them. And the aim for today is for you to go away with at least one cool takeaway, so that you feel like you've got a rigging cheat code, right? That's my aim. And there's also going to be tips and tricks. I don't know if I mentioned that. It's going to be broken into three structures, three-part structure. Don't say beginning, middle, and end. Don't say beginning. It's going to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. No, it's not. So we're going to start out with a little bit of a mini lecture. So I'm just going to do a few slides and stuff. Then we're going to not deep dive, we're shallow diving into Blender over several examples of like, here's what you can do in this spot. Here's a tip for you. So this is going to be show by doing, as well as where the tips are, because you're probably wondering where they are and if there's enough. And then at the end, this is my number one thing. I'm the developer of the Bone Widget add-on, which is a really fast way to create custom shapes for your rigs, and you can save your own custom shapes to your library, so you're not, it just makes it really easy. So I'm the guy who I didn't create it, but I developed it from its beginning. All right, cool. So let's get stuck in. That was to remind me not to go too fast. Are you guys ready to learn? If you've got a hat, turn it, actually probably not one of those hats, because they're cool. I was going to say, if you've got a hat, turn it backwards, because stuff's about to get real. There are three types of roles for any bone. Like someone who doesn't know anything about rigging, they will open up someone else's rig and they'll see all these prefixes on bone names, and they'll be like CTRL, DEF, MCH, what Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is going on, right? So control bones, people kind of understand this. These are the ones that the animator moves around. They put keyframes on them, they move them from position A to position B. The deformation bones are also pretty easy to understand. These are the ones that actually move your verts around the mesh. And it's really helpful if you only turn on the deform option on these bones and turn it off on everything else, because that is a setting that is on by default on every single bone. And then you've got mechanism bones. These are the ones that force the rig to do what you want it to do. All right. Also, I'm getting, good work, Wayne. I put it out there so I didn't forget. You don't need to add a prefix, a CTRL, on your controls, because the way, in other software, all of your controls are actually separate objects, and you're bringing them in, and the namespace kind of makes a difference. But in Blender, all of the controls are actually the bones inside the armature, so you don't need that extra thing. The animator will only have access to those bones. You will hide the deformation bones and you will hide the mechanism bones from them. They won't see them, and you will lock them so they can't set keyframes on them. If they choose to, that's their fault, not yours, right? The control, that means if you leave the control, the CTRL prefix on the front, an animator needs to start reading the name of that bone in a list halfway through the word. And as humans, we read by the shape of the letters more than the actual letters themselves. So you start reading everything from the middle, and it's just redundant. So in Blender, you do not need to add the CTRL to the front. So if you're one of those people, you don't need to do it. You're like, oh, but everyone else, I saw this Maya rig. In Blender, you don't need to do it. It does make your job as a rigger slightly harder, which I won't talk about today, but there's ways around that. It's your job to make the animator's job easier, right? They don't have to start reading halfway through the word. They get less fatigued. So getting back to, I'm going to go off on tangents. That's what I do. Mechanism bones. What are they? This is the thing that students, I'm happy to explain it as many times as people need, because it is something that's really difficult to understand. What is a mechanism bone? They fill whatever purpose is needed, right? They could be a parent. They could be a child. They could just be a bone that needs a constraint on it so that your rig does whatever is needed. The mechanism bone is there for you. It's like you're the rigger. You're like, oh, I need someone to do this, and the mechanism bone goes, all right, I'll do it. Like that's their job, right? They need to be there. I'm going to show you an example of this in a moment so that you don't go, oh, thanks for the explanation, dude. That didn't help at all. Another important thing, naming convention. I've already spoken a little bit about that, but if you name your bones logically, it's going to make your job easier as the rigger, because you can batch rename things, you can do things with Python. That's going to speed up all the tasks that you need to do, right? It's already a difficult job, so make your job a little bit easier, right? So name them logically and consistently. I could probably talk for 5 hours about naming conventions, but I won't. And people who've taken my courses are like, why are you talking about it again? But because it's very important. Make sure that you name all of your bones. Name all of your bones, people. Don't leave it at 001 on the end. That is a pet peeve of mine. It says you haven't done your job. You haven't finished. And it's also like, from the animator point of view, you've got all of these bones that have the .L or the .R on the end, and it all lines up nicely in a list, and you can read it perfectly, except for some bones that have a 001. It breaks, it makes it cognitively harder to understand. So it's just, remove that, name your bones properly. It saves brain power, which I've already said, and I've already mentioned your batch renaming, because you can select things if it's named, when you're creating your rig, if it's in a predictable naming pattern, you can select those things and swap them out for a proper name, which I'm going to show you today, hopefully. Another kind of cool thing I see with the students who come through the courses is you need to know when to stop rigging. Right? And what do I mean by that? It'll make sense in a minute. Dramatic pause. When is that? If your rig is fit for purpose, you're done. Right? You don't need to do not overthink it. Right? A lot of new riggers think they need to, actually that's very important, get back to that. They think they need to solve every problem, and they think that by solving every problem, you're actually doing a favour to the animator, and that's not always true. There is one caveat to this, like not overthinking it, unless it's a fun learning activity for you to push your skills and your knowledge further. Then go and do it, man. Like, go and practice and try and break it and try and do something fancy, but you do not need that feature in your rig. You don't want to spend out, if you're doing your personal project at home, wherever, you don't need to spend that extra time on that feature that you're not even going to use. All right? An example of that is like, that they go, but it breaks when the animator does this. They'll put a pose on a character, and they feel like, I need to stop it, the animator from being able to do that. If your rig is fit for purpose and the animator poses it in a really crap pose, that is not your fault. Like, you don't need to stop them from being able to do that. That's a them problem, that's not a you problem, right? An example of this overthinking would be, people are like, okay, you got IK legs on the feet so that, you can walk your character, you just move the feet, you don't have to animate the whole legs. And they think, we need to add a floor constraint on the floor so the feet don't go through the floor. And they're like, if you think about it, you're like, that's a smart thing to kind of help out animators. They're like, they won't be able to go through the floor because there's a floor there. That's good. We're doing them a favour. No, you're not. You're actually making an extra control that they need to animate. And it's two things they need to animate. Plus, like, if they put the feet through the floor, that's on them. That's not you, right? So you don't restrict them in what they can do. You only restrict it when it's going to break the rig or if it does nothing. Right? That's your only two restrictions that you need to do. If it breaks the rig, just like lock it down, or if it does nothing, lock it down, right? Because there's no point in that. All right. So now we're going to get stuck into Blender. I'm Australian, so I say Blender. I don't know whether you noticed that. So hopefully everyone is going to get a little bit of a cheat code. If you've got a hat, turn around, up, down, left, right, bone. We're going to get stuck in. That's how to say that, by the way. If you were saying rigging cheat codes, you have to say the full thing. All right, so we'll come back to that later. I'm going to bring up the first example that I want to show. So this is not a follow-along part. It's kind of you watch and you learn. You go, okay, how do people? Does he really get paid to do this? Yes, I do get paid to do this. You're going to learn some stuff. This computer is really, really slow. I'm not sure that you've noticed. Okay, so we're here. I've already gone ahead and deleted the default cube, so you did not need to see that violence. So here we have a bone. I have the bone name already labelled, but you can see the bone names. Hot tip for you. Go into pose mode. Go down to your armature settings, which is the green stick man, and you are going to right-click and turn on in front, add it to your quick favourites. Then you are going to turn on your axes, add to quick favourites, and you're going to turn on your bone names. All right. The order matters. I was meant to do it in the opposite order, but it doesn't matter. So now when you push Q, hang on, which one did I undo? in front, axis. Okay, what did I do? I probably clicked on the line. Okay. Sorry? Oh, did I? Thank you for watching. I wasn't watching. So I assigned a shortcut. It's probably not there. It's worked. So now I've got the 3 options that I'm going to use all the time, because when you've got a really big rig, sometimes you need to see the bone names and you can turn them off. All right. I'm not done. I'm in pose mode, right? So if I jump into edit mode and I hit Q, they're not there. Add them in both modes, all right? Okay, let's do it. Here are your names. In front, quick favorites, axes, quick favorites. So now, whatever mode that I'm in, I don't need to think about, oh, hang on, I've got to change modes to activate my quick favorites. You can do it in object mode as well, but you probably don't need to. I'm going to leave that as a personal preference. Now, I'm going to show you a little bit about, oh, actually, I've turned the axes on for the object. What is the object on? Ah, who cares? I don't care. So, I'm going to start with something a little bit silly. Back when I was learning Blender, I did realise I'm going to start with, and it's like almost halfway through. I always used to forget the order that you used to select things in order to parent them. And I started saying in my mind this really stupid thing of like, I'm just going to create another bone here, right? This is not a normal... hey guys, turn them off. What?
Yeah, I think you assigned a quick shortcut.
Okay.
So yeah.
Your shortcut at the right mouse button.
Oh, no, that'd be funny, that'd be weird. All right, so you Shift D. Okay, I got a bone. I need to parent these bones, all right? And I always used to forget what order I used to do it. So in my head, I would select a bone and go, who's your daddy? I am. Control P, and that's how I would... I thought... I didn't think I would ever say that to anybody in the world, because I said it in my mind, right? And then I started putting that in my courses, and people were like, that's so brilliant, like that. And no one's ever forgotten, except for one person who said, I can't remember how to... So you've been... Who's your daddy? I am. That's the way that I remember it. And because you're saying it in your mind, you can say it however you like. It can be whatever gender that you want. And there's no judgment, which is a beautiful thing. There's no judgment. If there is, that's not on me. That's a you problem. Right. So that's the way that I remember. And another way to remember the order that you select constraints, very similar. Well, actually, before I jump to constraints, I'm in edit mode now. Edit mode is always for adding your bones. Add your bones in edit mode. People always forget that. Pose mode is for constraints and animation. Edit mode, adding your bones. Pose mode, constraints and animation. As a rigger, you don't do a lot of animation. There is a little bit, but not often. As an animator, you don't do a lot of constraints unless you're space switching, which is a topic for another day. So I'm going to jump into pose mode and then add a... Oh, actually, I haven't turned on my screencast keys. That'll help. So now you guys can see. The order in which you add your constraints, I go, who wants a constraint? I do. And then I hit the Control Shift C, and I bring up the menu there. So they're the two mnemonics that I use. Who's your daddy? I am. Who wants a constraint? I do. And you can make up whatever funny voice in your head that you like. It can be David Attenborough if you wish, whatever you want. So I'll go through that shortcut again, all right? Control Shift C, and you've got all your constraints there. That is the fast way of doing it. Control Shift C, all right? You can go over to the constraints tab and bring them down here, but this is really, really slow. The advantage of this is you've already set up your targets, all right? Now, getting to that, I'm going to explain, I'm going to do some constraints, and I'm going to explain how they work in the constraint stack over here. But I need to delete this bone first, so I'm just going to do that in what mode? Edit mode, all right? It's also for deleting bones that you don't want to play with now. All right, so here's my bone. I'm going to give it a name. This one's going to be the owner. Then I'm going to duplicate this bone, and I'm going to stick it over this side. All right, it's cool. I'm going to name this guy, target 1. And I'm going to not look where I select first, because I'm a fool. All right, and then I'm going to duplicate this one, put it over here. I'm just being rough, it doesn't matter. Then I can rename this one I'll go through some shortcuts on how to rename stuff. We've batch renaming a little bit later. We're going to be target 2, right? So now I have 3 bones. These are not parented to each other. They're just outside sitting on their own hierarchy. They've got no friends, right? They're like, I'm lonely, I'm lonely, I'm lonely. The reason I've called this one the owner is that's the language that's used inside Blender. The one that we put the constraint on is the owner of the constraint. It's like, hey, I own that, right? That's mine. And the target is the one that the owner targets, okay? So I'm going to jump back into pose mode, and I'm going to do a couple of constraints to put this dead set in the middle always, right? So I'm going to select the target first, then this guy. Who wants a constraint? I do. Control-Shift-C, and I'm going to choose copy location. Then our owner bone has snapped over the top here. Let's have a look at our constraint. All right, we've got a copy location. This is the target object, which was called armature. We've got the target bone, which was target 1, and it's copying in world space. I don't probably have enough time to go over all the different space types, but that's what it's doing. So it's taking it from its middle position, and it's snapping it over there. Now, how would I get the midpoint to this one over here? You're like, okay, let's try a few things, all right? We're going to select the second target, and then we're going to select this one here. Oh no, there's 2 bones that are sitting over the top of each other. What do I do? How do I select the right one? If you hold down Alt and click, you get the menu, all right? So first of all, I'm going to select this guy, and then Shift Alt to get the menu here. Who wants a constraint? I do. You know, which one should I choose? The owner, yeah, all right. So, what did I do? I don't think I did it. Yeah, I didn't do it. So I'm going to select that and then add Control-Shift-C. I'm going to add another copy location. Now where's our bone? Our bone is snapped to the other side. All right, let's have a think about what's going on here. We've got our first constraint. It is following 100% from its starting position, going over to this side. Then we've got a second constraint that it's just taking it from there all the way over to this point. So the way that the constraint stack works, it's calculated from the top down. All right, so if I want to be in the middle point, I can just take that second constraint and type in here 0.5. And now it's only going halfway back between those two starting points, right? So I can move this around, and that bone will always be in the middle. Isn't that clever, right? Did anyone just learn something? Yes, awesome, right? Watch this. I'm going to change the order. Oh, whoops, what's happening now? Let's have a think about what's happening. All right, I'm going to reset all my bones. Alt-G. You might remember it started in the middle here. I'm drawing with my mouse. Hang on. Yeah, I'm a good artist. Check this out. It's a pretty good bone. That's pretty good. I'm going to show my kid. He's going to go, yeah, that's a great dinosaur, Dad. It's meant to be a bone, right? So that's where it started. It is starting at that position, and then it's going 50% of the way over here, right? Don't make me draw another bone there, all right? But just imagine that it's there. And then our second constraint is going 100% over here. So really, this first constraint is doing nothing, right? If I change the order back, boom, it's now doing exactly what I want, and it's making my dinosaur look bad. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go down to the View tab, Annotations, right-click this, Add to Quick Favorites. And then I'm going to go Q, Remove, and hey, isn't that cool? I learned that from Todo from CG Dive. So, yep, if you're watching on YouTube, there you go. Thank you, sir. Cool. So that's a little bit of the constraint stack. Who wants a constraint? I do. Who's your daddy? Who's your mama? Who's your non-binary parental figure? It doesn't matter. You choose. It's your mind. It's going to be helpful. So that's the way that the constraint stack works. I'm going to move to the next one now. Actually, yeah, I'll do it this way. Yes?
Question. If I have a third bone, would it then be right to also add it to 0.5 because I did this right now and it looks kind of okay?
Oh, okay, excellent question. The question was, if I add a third bone and do 0.5, where would it go? It probably, okay, we can try it. Let's try it.
I can try it out. It looks okay, but I'm not sure if it's the correct.
It won't be correct. But there's another thing. Oh, yeah, this is the... I'm going to try your thing in a second. Before we move on from this one, I want to show you the mechanism bones, right? Because we have this constraint set up where... Whoops, don't select all of them. Just select the one. What's going on? Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. This is just not my computer, all right? Well, it is. I just bought it for this, and I bought the cheapest one that I could afford that had a numpad, because I'm not an animal, right? And I'm regretting my choices now because it just doesn't work. And if I have the browser, like the web browser open and Blender, well, I have to reset my computer. Cool, so what I want to do is I want to be able to move this owner bone around, right? Because this is my animation control. I want to be able to move it, and I can't because these constraints lock everything down. Enter our friend, the mechanism bone, all right? So what I'm going to do is just duplicate this guy now. I'm going to rename him. I'm going to call him Mech-O, because he's my mate, all right? It's a mechanism bone, but I'm Australian. We add O to the end of everything. You'll notice this if you ever do one of my courses, because I call everyone O at the end. Okay, so now I have two copies of that bone that are sitting over the top of each other, and I want to reparent them. So our owner bone is a child of Mech-O, all right? So let's, where do we do our parenting? Edit mode, right? So let's jump into edit mode. Make sure that we select in the right order. Who's your daddy? So we need to select the owner first, and then the other one. I am, Control P, we're going to parent them. Now, we are going to choose keep offset. Students don't have an issue with this one. Like, connected means you're going to physically connect them. Keep offset means you're going to parent them. They're going to be parented, but that bone is going to stay in that location. It's not going to be stuck to the parent, all right? It's not a helicopter parent. It's like whatever the other ones are. I should know I'm a parent. So I'm going to choose keep offset so then it can move freely, right? Jump back into pose mode. Can I move my owner bone? I'm going to select our owner bone. No, I can't. Why can't I move my owner bone? Because it still has the constraints on it. It doesn't need the constraints. Now, why can't I select? Because it's this laptop, right? I'm going to select our owner, and I'm going to delete those constraints, all right? And just to make it a little bit easier to see, this is another tip for you guys. I have bones that are sitting over the top of each other, but it's really difficult to see what's going on, right? I'm going to jump over into B-bone mode, and then I'm going to use the world's most cumbersome shortcut, Control, Shift, Alt, S, and I'm going to make one of them fatter. And then I'm going to shrink him down with, actually, let's just go individual origin, like that. So now these bones are sitting over the top of each other, but I can still select them. So that is just changing the visual representation of the bone. It doesn't change anything about the functionality. All right? Control, Shift, Alt, S, and then you call your, I was going to say chiropractor, but what's the one with physio? Call you physio because you broke your hand. I can now move these target bones anywhere. Bim, 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 bim. And if I want to move my owner, this little chubby guy, I still can, thanks to our mechanism bone here. So this mechanism bone served the role, this is called an intermediary parent, which is really difficult to say. So I just say, if you need to do something like that, give it a parent, constrain the parent, all right? And you never need to say intermediary ever again, because it's, yeah, you're welcome, right? So that's what we're doing with that. Let's try and add a third bone. This is cool, let's add a third target. See if I can figure this out. Probably haven't. Already going off tangent. You know what it is? It is the user preferences. I'm going to go in here and change the select toggles all input. Where is it? Interface, themes, key map. Oh no, it's on. So I should just, yeah. I'll go back to preferences in a moment. Let's add a third bone up here, rename it 3. Boom. Okay, so now we're trying to get that one to stick in the middle. I don't think we can, right? We need a different setup. So our mechanism bone is now the one that's doing all the work. Let's add a third one here, right? Control Shift C, copy location. We need to change the constraint. This is our third one down here. You said that you put it to 0.5, and it kind of looks like it's in the right spot, but it's not, is it? Why is it not in the right spot? Let's have a think about Why? I'm not going to draw a full bone, but it started in the middle here. Then it goes all the way over here. Then it goes 50% of the way back towards this target, and then it goes 50% of the way. And maybe it is. Maybe you're right. Oh, no. I don't know. I'd have to. I'm going to check it afterwards. All right. Yeah, maybe you're right. I think that probably actually works. Yeah, I'll get back to you on that one. So that's kind of how the mechanism bones work. Did anyone have a light bulb moment with that? Awesome. It's for everyone watching on YouTube. There was like, everyone was like nodding, right? They were like, yeah. Right, I'm going to jump into my other file. So when you're new to rigging, you're like, oh, I want to make my character move, right? This might be something that you want to end up with. This is a really basic rig that we do in the core fundamentals of rigging. You've got a root bone here. You've got a kind of a bone that controls the torso of the character. It's the main one that you can move around. Underneath that, you've got like controls for the spine, right? Oh, and before I go any further, if you are a rigger, you have to do this. That's your job as a rigger, to do that. It's really FK based. It's got a little bit of stretchy. It's a really basic rig, and he's got a hat. Hello, how do you do? So the reason I'm bringing this up here is because I want to show you some. This is something that you might want to try on your own, right? You're like, oh yeah, I've got a character. I want to make it move. I'm going to stick a basic rig on it, and it's going to be easy. I'm going to show you some of the problems that you run into with the IK, all right? But I'm not going to do it on this model. Actually, I'll bring up the armature so you can see what I'm talking about. And quick favorites is gone in this one because it's a new instance. That's right. So let's go in front. So here are all the deformation bones, right? They're the ones that move the vertices around. And some of you actually probably think when you've done this on your rig, you've rigged the character and it's finished. No, like this is the deformation rig. You don't animate this one. And the reason that you put them all on the deformation thing is so that when you look at the actual mesh, all of your vertex groups are all nicely named, and you don't have any controls in there that shouldn't be. It's all really easy and logical to find. All right, that's one of them. Okay, so we're going to come back to that one. Maybe not. But I want to show you the problems with IK constraints that beginners run into. Okay, so here is a simplified version of what you just saw, which is a little bit of just part of it, all right? I'm going to show that these are, whoops, delete you, you're not meant to be there. This is a foot, this is a shin, this is a thigh. You're like, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to add an IK constraint to this, make it work. Let's do that in pose mode because we know what we're doing. Who wants a constraint? I do. Control-Shift-C, let's choose inverse kinematics. And you're like, whoa, oh, what, whoa. And this is, when I was learning rigging, I did this to my character. I added the IK constraint, it flipped out like this, and I turned my computer off and I left my house. And I'm not joking, I was just like, whoa. And it wasn't like a week or two later I was brave enough to open it up again, right? When something goes crazy like this, you stay calm and you think about, what is the reason, all right? What is the reason? And there's a few reasons. Well, one, I did it in the wrong order, so I've put the constraint on this guy. So I'm going to undo that, right? Let's undo the adding of the constraint. Okay, so who wants a constraint? I do. Control-Shift-C, inverse kinematics. Oh, why does it do that? Yeah. I know what I'm doing, folks. Okay, so we have our thing on there, and it's kind of, you're like, oh, it's not kind of working. And then you remember, well, you don't remember, you realise that this is a child. The foot is a child of the shin, and the shin is depending on the foot to know where to point. So we've got what's called a dependency cycle there. You might have heard about that and not really know what it is. So the parent's going, oh, I don't want to go to work today, and telling the kid, you go to work today, which doesn't really work in society, all right? It's not something that you should do. I've tried it, doesn't work. So what we're going to do is we're going to clear the parent on this guy. Alt-P, clear. You can either disconnect the bone, which is not what we want to do. We want to totally clear the parent. So now the foot is no longer part of that hierarchy. And you're like, oh yeah, it's kind of working better. And then you kind of save it and you don't leave the house, but you go and play some PlayStation and you come back a couple of days later and you go, what's going on here? Another thing that the IK constraint does by default, it will run up the hierarchy as high as it can go unless you tell it, settle down, stop where I want you to stop. So this is a chain of 2 bones. We need to limit the chain to that length, all right? And now when we move it, it kind of works. You're like, oh, that's cool. All right, it's doing what you want it to be doing, almost. All right, we've got another problem. The foot detaches, and these bones, we want them to stretch. And you might be thinking, oh, I need to add a stretch to constraint or do something super duper fancy to do that. I won't worry about it. I'm just going to make his legs break. No, you don't need to do something like that. You can select the bones, go into the bone tab, and tell them how to behave in the inverse kinematics tab, right? You've got this tab here that says IK stretch. And I'll have them both selected, and I'm just going to type in a really small number, 0.1, all right? And now you're like, oh, cool. Only the shin moves, but it's stretching the whole way. That's cool. What I could have done when I had both of them selected, if you hold down Alt on any of the input boxes and then you type in your figure, it's going to add that same value to everything that you have selected. This is true, not in Rig, this is Blender wide, all right? So you hold down Alt, it's going to add that to everything that it is applicable to, right? So now when I stretch, both the thigh and the shin are stretching in the same amount, all right? Now, this is not something you need to kind of go crazy with, but if you start stretching, it stops and you see the leg starts jiggling. Like, What is going on here? That is just the length of this. If I increase this, it's going to stretch further. It's going to go there, and then we can move our little foot bone earlier. It's going to go a little bit further. You don't need to worry about like I don't know the exact value that you should use, to be honest. 0.1 is always fine because it's going to go far enough that you need in animation, right? Like if you're animating and your legs are this big, something's wrong, you know? Like, whoa. You also have another problem where these bones are ballooning out. These bones are ballooning out and they're getting bigger. If you have the deformation bones that are parented to those, they're going to copy that thing and your legs are going to balloon out. So there's ways around that, which might not be, I might not have time for today, but that's just another problem. So that's a problem with the dependency cycle and a few things to do with the IK constraint. Hopefully you guys learned something with that. I'm going to move to the next one, which is this one's a cool trick. I'm going to open up this rig here, right? I have a gun turret. It's got a few bones on there, and this can shoot and go pew, 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 pew. As a rigger, that's your job. That's what you're meant to do, right? I have this target that can move around, and all this geometry points towards the target. And then you're like, wouldn't it be good if the target pointed back to the geometry or this bone here? So you're like, okay, I'm going to select this guy. Who wants a constraint? I do. And you add a constraint, a damped track. And you're like, oh my God, it works. Well, you don't select that, right? I can't deselect things. This computer's weird. You're like, oh, it kind of works. Now that you can probably, I'll zoom in here a little bit. That target is always pointing back. I'm a genius. I'm a genius rigger. And then you like undo something and you realize, oh, did you see a jump then? I'm just going to undo it. Oh, Blender's drunk. Look at it. Like, Blender doesn't know what it's doing. Oh, come on, Blender, stop drinking. What we've got there is a dependency cycle. Blender's actually doing a really good job of trying to do what you want it to do, but you can see that little bit of lag, right? That little bit of lag is coming because this bone here is depending on this. It's pointing at this guy. And this guy is trying to point at that. We've got a dependency cycle. One depends on the other, right? It's kind of like, it's doing good. It's trying to take your underwear off without taking your pants off. You can kind of do it, but it's going to hurt, all right? So that's what's going on here. I'm going to show you a little bit of a trick around that, right? I'm going to remove that. Actually, I'm going to duplicate this bone so that I have another one there, and then I'm going to give it a prefix. I haven't got my bone names on this one. Oh, man. Mech, aim, and when you've got things like this, it can be helpful to add a little bit of a descriptor of what this mechanism bone is doing, right? It's going to be my aim widget. Yeah, this is cool, right? So now I have two bones that are doing the same thing. I'm going to turn off the widget on the new bone, the mechanism bone. It's not needed, right? So I'm going to go to my custom things here, and I'm going to delete them, right? So now we should have this guy. That's our aim target. It's still working. But this guy needs to follow along. How do we do that? Straight parenting. So it's pretty good. Who's your daddy? I am. Jump into edit mode. Control P. Keep offset. All right. Boom. So I've just parented that. But what have I done? Still got that constraint on this guy, right? I'm going to delete the constraint off the control. Boom. So now it's behaving like it used to, except we have an extra bone here that is pointing back to the target. I'm going to do a cool little trick called override transforms. So I'm going to go back to my bone tab here. And underneath the custom object here, we have the override transform. You can say, hey, this is the shape that I want you to use, but this is the location that I want you to use. And in here, I'm going to use that new bone that I created. And it is going to take on the transforms of that, and it's going to look like it's pointing back towards where it's going. And if I try and, is Blender drunk? No, it's working perfectly because I have circumvented the great wedgies. All right, it's working exactly the way that we want to do, right? So that was overriding the transforms. Cool little trick. And in Blender 5, there's some extra options that I'm very excited about how to override transforms, but that's for later on. I want to show you I want to show you the bone widget add-on now, right? So let's bring up our old one. Let's bring back, don't save, clickety-clack. Let's bring back this guy, good old Wrangler, right? In case you're wondering, yes, I did do the modelling on this guy. He's pretty crap, but yeah, I did it. I'm going to delete all of the shapes. Actually, I'll show you. This is the add-on bone widget that I helped create. It was created by Christophe Su and Manuel Ray, but Bassam Kudali updated it for Blender 2.8, and then I've taken over the development of it since then. And it's a really easy way to create these controls without breaking your mind. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear absolutely everything first, right? I'm going to turn on in front so you can see. I want to add a root control to this bone down here. So I'm going to go click, I'm going to choose from my list down here. I'm going to go, oh, okay, there we go. Why did that not work? Because I haven't created it yet. So that's the widget that I'm going to use. I'm going to click create. Oh, I had everything selected. Create, right? And then you can change the size of it. I want it to be this big. You can make it slide along the y-axis of the bone, right? You can make it rotate to fit whatever orientation that you need. If out of the box this isn't good enough for you, we've got some advanced options. And then each one of those axes is broken up. You can scale it on the individual axis, slide it on the individual axes, or rotate it on the individual axes, and then make the Y width whatever option that you want. And if any of your widgets have face data, you can also click that, and you'll see the whole thing coloured in, right? So you've got some options there. Let's put a root control on this one. So I'm just going to use that. Let's go create. It's the wrong thing. So we're going to, actually, we don't need the fancy thing. I'm just going to make it a size of 1. Let's rotate it around. The x-axis, I just moved it then to figure out what axis I needed, and then I'm going to type in 90. Boom. Isn't that good? That was quick. This one I'm going to use a circle. Let's go create. Oh no, those axes are there. If I want to reset any value, you can normally hit backspace, but you can't do that in a thing here. Stop talking about that, Wayne. This widget gets spawned at the head of the bone. It's not exactly where I want, so I'm going to slide it down. Oh, isn't that good? I didn't have to do any fancy things. That's not big enough. His butt's bigger than that. I'm just going to make it slightly bigger. That's cool. Let's do this one. Bang. Oh, this one's a bit bigger. Cool. Let's add a chest here. It's really easy to create the shapes. Oh, this one's not quite right. I need to edit this one. So what you can do is jump over to the edit widget button, and you're in edit widget. You're in edit mode. Oops, for that widget, and you can make it shaped whatever you want. Oh, okay, I want to turn on the proportional editing, and let's just bring this one in. Get out of my way, dude. Bring that one in. All right, I've recreated that. That's awesome. What about the... Oh, and then, sorry, I accidentally made a mistake. You can jump back to the bone really easily, so you're not messing about. This one here, we've already got a clavicle, so I'm just going to create that one. Let's slide it down. Boom. Yeah, we don't. You kind of get the idea. Has anyone used this one before? Hands up. Cool. Yes. In the latest version, we have added quite a lot of functions to be able to handle bone colors, because I'm sure you realise adding bone colors in Blender is quite cumbersome. So we have different options, all right? We can symmetrize the shape. We've got this color button here. It's going to symmetrize whatever color that you choose, right? That's when you symmetrize things over to the other side, which I didn't show you fully, but I'm running out of time. I'm going to be really quick. Colors. I want to add, let's make this one, this button here, this is all the preset bone color themes. I'm going to make this one green, so we go, bang, we've just changed the color there. That uses the predefined ones that come with Blender, which in my opinion are very limited and they're not that great with visibility. So you can create your own, and then you've got your 3 colors here. You can make it whatever color that you want. That is another way of doing it. It's not the quickest way. The quickest way is to add your own custom presets, right? So you can design this and go, I want these ones to be red, and then go copy, copy, copy. This one, I'm going to make red. Let's make this one a little bit lighter and make this one, oh sorry, a little bit darker, you know what I mean? So you can see this color here is the normal color. This is the one when it's selected, and this is the color when it's active, the active bone. That's the way, all of the colors in Blender, when you see these swatches, it's normal, selected, active. So you can create as many as you want, but I want this to be a tool that you set up once, the way that you like it, and then it just works the way that you want. So we have the import function, right? On my computer at home, I've already gone ahead and added all the colors that I want. And I'm going to just import them here and go import color preset, and then I'm going to select them all and go, okay. So now I can choose whatever color I want. Oh, I want that one to be blue. Oh no, I want this one to be red. Apply. I want this one to be magenta. Let's go like that. That is a really fast way to edit your colors, and you don't have to mess about with going down here into your bone color tabs and picking your things, right? It's just really fast. So that's the way that we've designed that. Another advantage of this tool is, what if you don't like any of these widgets that I've got and you want to add your own? All right, you can do that. All right, I'm just going to add a default cube because it gets a bad rap. But let's, oops, that's a plane, Wayne. No, it's a bird. Okay, here's a cube. I want this to be my new widget, right? So I'm going to go, okay, let's open up here. I'm going to add that widget to my library. I'm going to go boom. It's going to say, give me a name. Now, cube already exists, so I'm just going to say new better cube. All right, and then I'm going to choose, how do I want the thumbnail to be rendered? You got some options here. Auto render, custom, or placeholder image, and yeah. I'm just going to choose auto render and click boom. There you go, you've got your widget there. Isn't that cool? I coded that, and I was like, I'm a nerd, it's cool. If you want to get rid of it, any widget, just select it, delete it, it's gone. Those widgets get saved into your data, and it will be persistent on next releases. So the next version that comes along, in the older versions of Bone Widget, it used to get saved in the same one, and we knew about this and we were like working on it. So every new version that came out, all of your existing custom widgets got wiped out. So you had to like save them, update, and then re-import them back in. Now that data lives in where Blender stores its data, so you can update however you like. The next thing is pushing it to the extensions platform so that you guys can just update it through Blender itself rather than going to GitHub. But if you find that useful, that is the GitHub address there, link, whatever it is. I don't know what I'm talking about. So yeah, it's free. It's on GitHub. It's going to speed up your workflow. And if you've learned anything about today, about improving your workflow, it's make widgets fun again. So Bone Widget. All right, folks. So that is the that's it. Thanks for coming to the talk. I do hope that I've helped enlighten you on some trick. I didn't get to show all the tricks that I wanted to show. But do we have time for questions, or is it? Not really? Does anyone have any questions? Yes?
Who was the person who asked about the bone in the middle of three bones?
But yeah, okay. You want to do it?
It's point three, right?
Very fast.
Yeah.
It's a bit intuitive. If you want the middle of two bones, you add positions of the bones and you divide them by two. If you want the middle of three bones,
I won't work with
you add
constraints.
three
Go.
positions